HDMI right here.
Computer on?
Yeah, I have here.
Or should we bring a laptop?
Or whatever you like. It's the box.
So I'm Steven.
I'm David.
I'm tayyib.
I'm Jose.
And we made like a little security camera in this wooden box that David made. So it basically just like senses motion with these 3 detectors, and the camera will pretty much follow whichever detection that it finds. So my part was pretty much the Raspberry Pi side. So I worked with the camera, which was controlled by the Raspberry Pi, the Pi camera. And the reason I chose the Raspberry Pi was because the camera, I actually got it from a friend, so I didn't have to actually buy it. And it was really lightweight. It's actually not easily mountable. We found that out after we wrote this report. And it had an existing Python library that was really easy to use, which I'll go over on the next slide. But it has a 180-degree, I guess like security angle. And this is the Python script. It's like 3 lines. It's really easy. First, you just import a library, and then you just create a Pi camera object, and then you just run that using the object. And there's also other things you can do with the object too. You can, for example, take a picture, which we didn't use in this example, but like if we had more time, we could like implement a lot more features. We also have control over like the brightness, the rotation, like mirroring the image and stuff if we wanted to mount the camera a different way. So, and that was pretty much my part.
And like I said, I'm Jose. So I did most of the coding for the servo rotation and how to sense or how to handle like the motion once it was detected. We used 3 per sensors. They each have like 120 degrees or so of range. So we just kind of put one here to detect motion on your left, the middle, and your right. And the way I coded it is that if this one detects motion, just this one, it'll swivel towards that. But if this one and this one detect motion, it'll go in the middle, and then, center, and so on. Let's see. So before we got the sensors, I used push buttons, just to do the little, to see if it would rotate and everything like that. We did have an LCD display, just so we can see if it was rotating right, and it would output like, oh, motion detected, we're going to the right, we're going to the center, so on. But then we kind of, it's still there, but it's not, it doesn't show anymore.
So it's kind of a diagnostic or debugging type of feature, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's real helpful because, sometimes you can't, it's doing stuff, what's it doing?
Right.
It's inside the box, so I mean.
Right, it's in the box.
And so there's, you don't have to skip, there's not much else on the other side. There's a couple of functions on the servo. Basically, when there's no motion detected, it'll keep rotating slowly all the way across, do a full sweep, come back. Those are just little snippets of code that I took. Once the motion is detected, it'll go straight to that. Then another thing we added is a remote interrupt with this one. So say you come in and you want to point the camera in a direction, you'll switch it over, and then you can choose the angle for it to go to.
So basically for my part, I was helping with the video output. We had a couple problems early on where we ordered some screens, but they weren't, turned out they were faulty, so we couldn't really get the Raspberry Pi to work with them. And in the beginning, we also wanted to live stream it onto like our phone or a web app, but we couldn't really figure it out with the Raspberry Pi. So we thought about using a GoPro camera instead. But if we used a GoPro, we would have to take out the Raspberry Pi completely, and we kind of wanted to stick with that. So we decided to use the Raspberry Pi camera. And I also came up with the idea how to use the sensors to detect the different angles. Because in the beginning, the problem we had was if it would turn on that side, it would kind of like go there, and then that sensor would turn on, and it would just go there. And we'll kind of switch back and forth and in between the different angles. But I came up with the idea if like the two sensors were triggered, then it would go into that angle, and then it would go into the other angle if the other 2 sensors were triggered. And then David came up with because we had this problem at the end where it wouldn't find the middle quite right, and then we figured out that it's all 3 sensors are triggered, so you have to set it in the middle, and David came up with that idea. And then in the end, we decided just to do a live feed through the HDMI on the Raspberry Pi. And that was basically my part. I also did help with the setup of the box and everything. Figured out how to get the drape on the camera and
Great box.
Yeah, so my part was just more the design. So we didn't want to like have like a naked project, you know. So then we just came up with the box, and the reason why I did this is because we wanted like a minimal 180-degree view, you know. So it senses over 180 degrees, but the camera only catches 180 because the servo doesn't. It only spins like 180, you know. So we can't really get more. So the reason I came up with this is just because it would accomplish our goal of just reaching the 180. So the reason why I did the box also was I'd rather like make it because you take more pride in like when you put effort into it than if you were to like buy something, you know. So
We have like I don't think we have time to demo the full thing, but we have like a 1-minute video that demonstrates pretty much